Industrial organization, types of production process. To analyze the approaches to studying subject, to list the types of industrial organization, to outline the features of industrial organization, to explain in detail the production process and production methods, to discuss about production management and model. Hello dear students, in this chapter you will be studying about industrial organization, its types and the production process. First, let us see the definition of industrial organization. Industrial organization is the field of economics that builds on the theory of the firm in examining the structure and boundaries between firms and markets. It is important to note that this chapter is divided into 5 sections. In the first section, you will learn about how industrial organization is approached as a subject. The subject has been described as concerned with markets that cannot easily be analyzed using the standard textbook competitive model. Having learned the way this subject approached, don't you think it is important to study its types as well? Yes, the next section deals with the types of industrial organization. The classification is done based on the Journal of Economic Literature. The features of industrial organization is also a critical area to learn about. So we briefly outline the features and benefits of industrial organization. Industrial organization adds to the perfectly competitive model such real-world complications as transaction costs, limited information and barriers to entry of new firms that may be associated with imperfect competition. It analyzes determinants of firm and market organization and behavior as between competition and monopoly, including from government actions. After learning the types and features, you will be learning about the production process. In this, the management cycle and a detailed description of the production process will be explained. The last part of the chapter deals with the production management. Learning this is important because you will be introduced to the 5 M's and industrial organization model. Approach to industrial organization. When a person studies industrial organization, there are different approaches to the subject. One of it is descriptive in providing an overview of industrial organization such as measures of competition and the size concentration of firms in an industry. The second one uses microeconomic models to explain internal firm organization and market strategy. As to strategic firm interaction, non-cooperative game theory has become the standard unifying method of analysis. The third approach is oriented to public policy, more generally the economic governance of law in defining property rights, enforcing contracts and providing organizational infrastructure. Let us consider a different approach to study this subject. There is a theoretical side and a practical side to it. According to a textbook, on one plane the field is abstract, a set of analytical concepts about competition and monopoly. On a second plane, the topic is about real markets, teeming with the excitement and drama of struggles among real firms. We can also see that this tool is used in other branches of microeconomics such as behavioral economics and corporate finance. Industrial organization has also had significant practical impacts on antitrust law and competition policy. Types of industrial organization. According to the Journal of Economic Literature, classification codes are one way of representing the range of economics subjects and subareas. These industrial organizations, one of 19 primary classifications, have 9 categories. They are market structure, firm strategy and market performance, firm objectives, organization and behavior, non-profit organizations and public enterprise, antitrust issues and policies, regulation and industrial policy, industry studies, manufacturing, industry studies, primary products and construction, industry studies, services, industry studies, transportation and utilities. The common market structures studied in this field are perfect competition, monopolistic competition, duopoly, oligopoly, oligopsony, monopoly, and monopsony. Features of industrial organization. Let me ask you one question. Why is this subject so important to learn? The answer is that it offers many features and benefits. By following the industrial organizational model, many advantages can be brought about in an industry. Basically, it is a field of economics that studies the strategic behavior of firms, the structure of markets, and the interactions between them. There are various concepts associated with this which are outlined in the following pages. All concepts fall under two main categories, such as production side of the industry and the cost side of the industry. Let's look at the production side of the industry. Production theory, production efficiency, factors of production, total, average and marginal product curves, marginal productivity, isoquants and isocosts, the marginal rate of technical substitution, production function, inputs, diminishing returns to inputs, the stages of production, shifts in a production function, economic rent, classical factor rents, Parentian factor rents. Production possibility frontier, what products are possible given a set of resources, the trade-off between producing one product rather than another, the marginal rate of transformation. Let's look at the cost side of industry. Cost theory, different types of costs, opportunity cost, accounting cost or historical costs, transaction cost, sunk cost, marginal cost, the cost line, cost of production theory of value, long run cost and production functions, long run average cost, long run production function and efficiency, returns to scale and isoclines, minimum efficient scale, plant capacity, economies of density, economies of scale, the efficiency consequences of increasing or decreasing the level of production, economies of scope, the efficiency consequences of increasing or decreasing the number of different types of products produced, promoted and distributed. Network effect, the effect that one user of a good or service has on the value of that product to other people. Optimum factor allocation, output elasticity of factor costs, marginal revenue product, marginal resource cost, pricing and various aspects of the pricing decision, transfer pricing, selling within a multi-divisional company, joint product pricing, price setting when two products are linked, price discrimination, different prices to different buyers, types of price discrimination, yield management, price skimming, price discrimination over time, two-part tariffs, charging a price composed of two parts, usually an initial fee and an ongoing fee. Price points, the effects of a non-linear demand curve on pricing. Cost plus pricing, a markup is applied to a cost term in order to calculate price. Cost plus pricing with elasticity considerations. Cost plus pricing is often used along with break-even analysis. Rate of return pricing, calculate price based on the required rate of return on investment or rate of return on sales. Profit maximization, determining the optimum price and quantity. The total approach, marginal approach of production. Production process. So far we have seen what the features of industrial organizations are. Now we are going to learn about the management cycle, which is essential in any production process. The management cycle involves 5 key steps, which are estimating, planning, scheduling, execution and evaluation. The main aim of any organization is to achieve any given goal with the available resources, thus bringing about maximum profit. Looking at the national level, it is necessary for every organization to produce adequate volume of goods in order to maintain steady national economy. Other important factor is needed to be considered, such as improvement in the design, models and brands of articles for growth in labor productivity and reduction of production costs, and for improvement in working conditions and in the cultural and technical level of the workers. Another critical aim of any organization is that when any machinery requires repairs, accurate measures need to be taken to fix them. This is because these days production is directly dependent on the machinery. Some of the tasks include preparing for the production of new types of articles and modernization articles currently in production, improving the manufacturing processes involved, and ongoing regulation and monitoring of the performance of production units. Putting together all these stages, we can say that in the manufacturing process, the organization of production implies a systems approach, and all goals are targeted towards maximum satisfaction of the needs of the society. The main requirements that the organization of production must satisfy are continuity in production processes. Continuity involves the use of the instruments of labor with minimal time loss and the uninterrupted movement of the objects of labor through all stages of production. Balance in the work of all units. The achievement of balance requires a correspondence in the capacities of related production sections that makes it possible to use their productive capacities fully. Evenness in the flow of production. Evenness in the flow of production entails steadiness of output and performance of equal volumes of work in equal periods of time. The organization of production encompasses primary and auxiliary production, supporting services, and the processes of administration as coordinated elements in a unified manufacturing process. The major trends in production organization are industrial specialization, concentration, and integration. What a rational organization of production brings about is a reduction in the diversity of jobs performed in each section, which is done by standardization of the products and their sub-assemblies. There are several other conditions which include the introduction of standardized industrial processes, the achievement of optimal volume in partial production processes, the performance in parallel of different stages of product manufacture, and the creation of conditions that allow for the comprehensive use of raw and processed materials. Any production organization assumes systematic improvements in the physical elements of production. Those are raw and processed materials, equipment, and finished goods. This in turn results in a rise in the skill and qualifications of workers. Scientific and technological progress creates new tasks for the organization of production related to the changing objectives and conditions of production. The use of specialized high output technology makes continuity in production more important because each hour of equipment downtime causes considerable losses. The most important methods of production organization are the flow method, the batch method, and the unit method. Now let us describe each method in detail. The most advantageous is the flow method, which provides for the assignment of a limited list of jobs and for the arrangement of work positions and production sections according to the path dictated by the stages in a product's manufacture. In the most highly refined forms of flow production, the work of related sections are synchronized. Flow methods of production organization are used effectively in the mass production of uniform products. They are also effective in lot of production. When there is a lot production involved, the batch method is employed. It combines elements of unit and flow organization, reassembling the latter most closely. It is characterized by the arrangement of equipment in groups of uniform machines and machine tools, assignment of a broad list of jobs to individual production units, limited use of specialized equipment and tools, and broad specialization among workers. The organization of experimental production has its own distinctive features. It is characterized by the absence of proven technology, by norms that are only tentative, by modification of products or parts of products, and by readjustments in production engineering. The unit method allows for modification according to the nature of the products produced, with individual production sections being set up to perform specialized tasks. Length of the production cycle. The central problem of production organization with respect to time is planning the length of the production cycle. This means the time from the moment that materials enter into production until the finished product emerges. The length of the production cycle is reduced by improving technology and employing highly productive machinery, by changing numerous natural processes into technological ones, by combining the time taken by transport and product control operations with basic production time, and by using progressive methods for combining operations. Mathematical methods and modern computer equipment are used in working out measures for the organization of production. Efficient organization of production is reflected in an increase in the productivity of social labor, improvement in the use of fixed productive funds, decreased losses of raw and processed materials, and lower production costs. An overall index of the efficiency of production organization is the increase in the value of output sold per ruble of capital invested by the state in the work of the particular production unit. Production management. Production management, also called operations management, is the planning and control of industrial processes to ensure that they move smoothly at the required level. Techniques of production management are employed in service as well as in manufacturing industries. It is a responsibility similar in level and scope to other specialties such as marketing or human resource and financial management. In manufacturing operations, production management includes responsibility for product and process design, planning, and control issues involving capacity and quality, and organization and supervision of the workforce. The 5 M's. In this section, you will study one of the most important concepts in management, the 5 M's. Production management's responsibilities are summarized by the 5 M's. Namely, men, machines, methods, materials, and money. Men refers to the human section in the network. Since the vast majority of manufacturing personnel work in the physical production of goods, people management is one of the production manager's most important responsibilities. The second most important task for the production manager is choosing the machines and methods of the company. First, selecting the equipment and technology to be used in the manufacture of the product or service, and then planning and controlling the methods and procedures for their use. When the machines and methods are chosen, the production manager must keep in mind the adaptability of workers to these equipments and schedules. There are two entities when one talks about materials. There are physical, that is raw materials, and information, which is paperwork. The smoothness of resource movement and data flow is determined largely by the fundamental choices made in the design of the product and in the process to be used. The concept of money is explained by the importance of financing and asset utilization to most manufacturing organizations by the manager. A manager who allows excessive inventories to build up, or who achieves level production and steady operation by sacrificing good customer service and untimely delivery, runs the risk that overinvestment or high current costs that will wipe out any temporary competitive advantage that might have been There are many organizations that exist to promote research and collaboration on the study of industrial organization. One such organization is the Industrial Organization Society, founded in the year 1972 by Stanley Boyle and Willard Miller to promote research on antitrust policy, regulatory policy, competition, and market power in real-world markets. The Review of Industrial Organization is the official journal of the IOS. The IOS has sponsored an annual International Industrial Organization Conference since the year 2003. The industrial organization model of above average returns explains the external environment's dominant influence on a firm's strategic actions. The model specifies that the industry in which a company chooses to compete has a stronger influence on performance than do the choices managers make inside the organizations. The firm's performance is believed to be determined primarily by a range of industry properties, including economies of scale, barriers to entry, diversification, product differentiation, and the degree of concentration of firms in the industry. Grounded in economics, the IO model of above average returns has four underlying assumptions. First, the external environment is assumed to impose pressures and constraints that determine the strategies that will result in above average returns. Second, most firms competing with an industry or within a certain segment of that industry are assumed to control similar strategically relevant resources and to pursue similar strategies in light of those resources. Third, resources used to implement strategies are assumed to be highly mobile across firms. So any resource differences that might develop between firms will be short-lived. Fourth, organizational decision makers are assumed to be rational and committed to acting in the firm's best interest, as shown by their profit-maximized behaviors. The IO model of above average returns challenges firms to locate the most attractive in which industry to compete. Because most firms are assumed to have similar valuable resources that are mobile across companies, their performance generally can be increased only when they operate in the industry with the highest profit potential and learn how to use their resources to implement the strategy required by the industry's structure characteristics. So, hope you have got a clear picture of what industrial organizations are, its types, and the production process. In this chapter, you were enlightened with a detailed description of industrial organization. To summarize the description, it is a field of economics dealing with the strategic behavior of firms, regulatory policy, antitrust policy, and market competition. Industrial organization applies the economic theory regarding model of price to the industries. Economists and other academics who study industrial organization seek to increase understanding of the methods by which industries operate, improve industries' contributions to economic welfare, and improve government policy in relation to these industries. In the next section, the types of industrial organizations were briefly discussed along with the features. This gave us an insight about the necessity of having industrial organization. The fourth section talked about the production process. Some key important concepts were explained in detail, like the management cycle, requirements of any production cycle, methods of production, and length of management cycle. The last part of the chapter taught about production management, wherein the 5 M's were explained in detail. Also, one of the production models were described. Thus, it can be summarized that industrial organization is very essential for any company because it builds on the theory of the firm, a set of economic theories that describe, explain, and attempt to predict the nature of a firm in terms of its existence, behavior, structure, and its relationship to the market.